Welcome inside the first edition of Watch D.A. Live for 2026. Happy New Year, everybody. We do this every single Sunday night across all of our social media channels, particularly on YouTube, but also on Instagram Live and on X. So welcome aboard. It's our Sunday night gathering. The D-Aliens come together as one. We have the voice of the Panthers, Anish Shroff, who's going to join us as the Panthers are dancing into the NFC playoffs as a 4 seed, despite going 8-9. What a wild day it was. Watch party in the NFC South as the Falcons and Saints went at it. They decided that division because, of course, it's so NFC South. So we'll get to Anish coming up here in a few minutes. Also, since we didn't have a show last week, I am backlogged on Christmas and holiday beam-ups from you guys. I got many Christmas cards, virtual Christmas cards to share with you here on the show after Anish. I think you'll like it. We got a lot of D-Alien legends who were in the spirit of the holidays, which we'll share with you coming up here in a few minutes as well. And as always, we channel our inner Little Mo and have a laugh at something on this Sunday with our Little Mo laugh of the day to finish things off. That's the way that it's said. If you're on Instagram or on Twitter, make sure you're getting over to YouTube and subscribing. Hit subscribe on that screen. That way you get notified when we go live. There's a little alert if you're subscribed on YouTube, and also being subscribed on YouTube is how you are in the mix for the Santo giveaway. This giveaway is phenomenal. You got to be a subscriber. We're going to give it away after the Super Bowl. But if you are, you're getting yourself potentially an amazing setup for the backyard this spring and summer. You got big time chairs. You got an area where you can kind of get together with your friends and your family. You got a fire pit, all from Santo. That's the giveaway here on the show. How amazing is that? So just make sure you are subscribed to the YouTube channel. That way you are eligible for the win. And we have over 10,000 subscribers here on the channel. So we love each and every one of you guys. We appreciate you being subbed. Doesn't cost a thing. So make sure you are subbed to the channel. Okay, let's get things cooking with your Furious Five. If you want a feel-good party to send off your stadium, just schedule the Jets. It's almost like the NFL knew, hey, give those good people in Western New York one great finale and goodbye to the old stadium. Let's make sure they get the Jets in there week 18. I mean, what an absolute wrecking ball that the Bills took with a backup quarterback to the Jets, and it was never in doubt. It was one big 90s party. And, of course, I've got a soft spot in my heart for the Bills. Bills fans have been tortured, a tortured lot for years, and they deserve good things. They are good people. They care about others. They donate money to opponents' causes when something might happen. They flood the Venmos and PayPals of their own folks, their own players when something happens. They're there in droves to help out each other, and I love them for it. And, of course, I've gone up there for games, and I've shared with you the videos of them. I went up there for the Saints game earlier in the season, and I do the Bill Maddock podcast after so many games. They deserved a night because they're probably not going to get a night at home in the playoffs. So they deserved a going-away party like that. And there was no drama. There was no theater. There was no stress or anxiety. It was just all feel good. So props to the Jets. You know, in the new building, I think, you hang the banner. You hang the banners perhaps for the 4 AFC championships. Perhaps you hang the retired numbers, Jim Kelly, Bruce Smith, Thurman Thomas, and then you hang a Jets banner for just helping you out so many times in times of need like this one. You just wanted to have one big party and you got it. From a football perspective, look, it's really hard to take away anything from a game like this. It really felt like a preseason game. It's like the backups are getting in. Look who's getting touches. Oh, Keon Coleman gets touches. Oh, Gabe Davis gets a touch. Oh, look at this. Josh Palmer, they throw the fade to. Trubisky is in. Deion Dawkins on the sideline cheering his guys on. It's like it was homecoming. So I think it's hard to take anything away from this game from a defensive standpoint or an offensive standpoint. I would say good to get some offensive rhythm after the way that they played against the Eagles last week. Good to just have the feel good, to get in the end zone, to score touchdowns, to not settle for field goals, not be a slog all night long. I think that's a good thing. I think also what you want if you're going to have to go on the road is just to get that vibe from the home crowd one last time, like a jolt of energy, like chugging a Jolt Cola before you leave to go to school. Like you just need a little bit of that. And I just think a night like that was a moment to kind of bring it all in, take it all in, and say, okay, this is our potential. Now, they're not going to win by 5 touchdowns in the playoffs. But you can say this is how we're supposed to operate when things are supposed to go well. The matchup against the Jaguars is not going to be easy, and the Bills have dug their own hole. The loss against the Eagles last week was a killer. They could have been a 5 seed. In fact, they still had a chance to be a 5 seed had the Colts pulled off the upset today, and they nearly did. I think the 5 seed was going to be the one breather in this group if you're a wild card. Because going to New England, obviously the Patriots are a very good team, and the Bills had fallen behind by 3 touchdowns the last time out. If Houston had won the division, obviously that was going to be a tough place because they had gone there earlier in the season and had lost to the Texans, and it was a nightmare night with that pass rush, 8 sacks of Josh Allen. There was no good outcome here unless you played the winner of Steelers and Ravens, in which case I think you could feel pretty confident. You'd beaten the Ravens in week number 1, and you'd gone to Pittsburgh and won convincingly as well. Going to Jacksonville is not an easy task. The Jaguars, and I'll get to this, the Jaguars finished this season on a real high, and they had an incredible effort to just kind of put that out of reach early and have a chance to really soak in their incredible turnaround and everything they've done well this season. And they're really good offensively. And Trevor Lawrence has clearly figured some things out with Liam Cohen. They have a balance of both offense and defense, and they definitely have it. I hate to use the phrase chip on your shoulder, but they certainly have it because they feel completely overlooked. Now, a lot of teams use that, and I'm not sure if the Jaguars' version of it is any more powerful than other teams' versions of it. I mean, everybody uses this in some way, shape, or form, but that's a really good team. And you got to go on the road, and you have to make it happen at a place where the Jaguars fans have been obviously thirsty for anything to cheer for, and now they get a home playoff game. And the Jaguars finish off the season very well. So I think it's a tough matchup for the Bills, but there probably was not going to be an easy matchup unless they rose to the 5 seed. They did not. I think this is all about, for Buffalo, a way to slow down the run. I'm not going to say stop the run because the Bills aren't going to stop the run at anybody. Slow down the run. Try, if you can, to keep this game from an early deficit. Obviously, they've been having to dig themselves out of holes all season long. You don't want to do that against really good teams, especially in the playoffs. Keep it close. Don't fall behind early. Don't get shredded on the ground. And hope that Josh Allen's foot is healed, and hope that there's Josh Allen magic in there, and hope that you block James Cook well enough to where Cook has himself a big day and it doesn't rely on a 4-touchdown effort from Josh Allen if it does take 30 points to win this game. And it might. It might. The Jaguars' offense is really good. It might. You can't hope, you can't pray that it's all going to be on the arm of Josh Allen and the legs of Josh Allen. James Cook has to have himself a big day if you're going to be talking about a game played in the high 20s and 30s. So that's my early look at the Bills and Jaguars in the wild card round in the 3-6 matchup in the AFC. And the Bills get a partay. And you know what? They did it great. They did it well today, where there was snow, but it wasn't snowing. They had all of the tailgates. I mean, the reports that I got were that people showed up just to tailgate and then went home to watch the game. People just wanted to be around the stadium. My buddy Andrew Catalan called the game. He said in the booth as they were wrapping up the broadcast, people were crying openly in the stands. So pretty cool moment, pretty cool night, pretty cool event in Buffalo for the Bills. All right, topic number 2. Let's look at this playoff picture here, and let's rank the best playoff matchups, okay? And here's what I got for my top playoff matchups is the matchups, by the way, are set. In the AFC, your 2-7 is the Patriots and Chargers. Your 3-6 is the Jaguars and Bills. Your 4-5 is the winner of the AFC North against the Texans. In the NFC, your 2-7 is the Bears and Packers. Your 3-6, Eagles and Niners. 4-5 is Panthers and Rams. The third tastiest matchup, number 3, as we count down to 1, best playoff matchup this weekend is going to be the Texans traveling to the AFC North winner. Okay, that's going to be the number 3 matchup in my mind. The Texans can win games in the playoffs. They can win games. Now, I'm a little hesitant on whether they can get to a Super Bowl because I still feel like the offense is a work in progress and can labor to move the chains. Sunday, they did that well enough to win. But again, it's a game that doesn't mean anything for the Colts and how many backups were in, et cetera. Hard to gauge what Week 18 really means. But the Texans defense, when push comes to shove, is one of the best units in the playoffs. And so whether the Texans are going to Pittsburgh or the Texans are going to Baltimore, it is going to be a smash mouth performance for the Texans. And the thing that's interesting is that the Ravens and Steelers are best known in their franchise's history for hard, aggressive defense. And it will be the Texans bringing that to either Baltimore or Pittsburgh with a much better defensive unit than either the Ravens or the Steelers are going to have. So I think that's a really interesting matchup. Just feels very playoff football. It's going to be a cold weather climate, outdoors, and a classic playoff team, Ravens or Steelers, against the Texans, who bring a playoff vibe with that defense. My number 2 most interesting matchup of the playoffs, Jacksonville. The Bills traveling to Duval to take on the Jaguars. The Jaguars have had a tremendous season this year because of the rehabilitation of Trevor Lawrence, because Liam Cohen has found a way to unlock a competitiveness in Trevor that maybe Trevor hasn't shown prior. He has found a way to kind of unlock that offense. They have really good special teams, elite special teams, by the way. 67-yard field goal, really good on punt and kick returns, and a defense that complements. And Liam Cohen has given them an edge. He's not an edgy guy per se. Doesn't seem like that, but he does have a big personality. And while at times it feels goofy, he has implanted that on the team. And so the Bills, with Super Bowl aspirations all season, with an explosive offense when it does cook, with an elite running back and one of the best quarterbacks in football, look, that should be a fantastic game. And I wouldn't be surprised if that's a 35-31 game. Wouldn't surprise me if that game is played in the 30s. We have a fantastic finish. That's my number 2. My number 1 most interesting matchup of the NFL playoffs in the NFC, the 3-6, the Niners going to Philadelphia. You know, I don't trust the Packers at all. I think the way they ended the season was disgusting. I think The Carolina Panthers are not going to be able to play with the Rams, even though I know that they did earlier in the season, the same exact spot. I think now with the playoffs, you're going to see the Rams take a sledgehammer to them. But in the NFC, I think Eagles and Niners is phenomenal. The Eagles are a far cry from what they were last year, but they still have all of this talent, so much of the same talent that won the Super Bowl. The Niners have put it together with Band-Aids and Scotch tape and bubble gum, and we're playing for a 1 seed. And how demoralizing if you're the Niners to go from perhaps the 1 seed to the 6. You go from a bye and hosting every playoff game, including the Super Bowl potentially, or going to Philly next weekend. But that's their lot. And the Niners and Kyle Shanahan are just this incredible story, despite what happened on Saturday night. Play call well. Purdy has played well since he's come back from his injury. They have some of their guys back, like Kittle and McCaffrey, but they also have guys that have stepped in for other injured pieces, and they've just been one of the best stories in football. They're well coached, they're well organized, they're balanced. And Purdy on the road against that Eagles defense in a hostile environment, I think it's going to be great theater. I do. I think it's going to be great theater. It's a tight game. It's a well-balanced game. I'm very, very interested in that matchup because, frankly, if the Eagles could figure it out, they could make a Super Bowl run again. And the Niners, I think, playing for a 1 seed proved they could make a Super Bowl run. So this is the rare matchup of the wild card weekend where you could have 2 potential Super Bowl teams matching up against one another. That's my ranking of the top 3 playoff matchups in this postseason picture. All right, moving on to the Furious 5. Myles, everyone. Myles Garrett breaks the single season sack record, and it's awkward. It is. It just is awkward. And this is not to take away the greatness that is Myles Garrett. Okay. This is in no way, shape, or form to suggest he's not a deserving player to hold the single season sack record. Much like Michael Strahan, he's going to be in Canton one day. And, you love the single season records to not be flashes in the pan or 1-year wonders, but instead bona fide legends of the game. So if there's going to be a single season sack record holder, Myles Garrett is as good a candidate as anybody. But doing it in 17 games is different. It's different. And it's not Garrett's fault. He had 17 games to do it. Just like the guys who have 16-game records had 2 more games than those that held it in a 14-game season. When OJ gets to 2,000 yards for the first time ever, he does it in a 14-game season, 73. When Eric Dickerson breaks that record to go to 2105, he gets 2 more games. That's fact. And now we have 1 more game to do this. And it's a little awkward. And I think you are allowed to feel a little awkward about records that are broken in a longer amount of time. It's interesting. When I was growing up, I was a real sponge of the history of the game. Shocker of all shockers. And so I would go through my middle school library looking for books of yesteryear about sports. And I remember reading a book about the home run chase in 61, Roger Maris and Mickey Mantle trying to chase down Babe Ruth's 60 home runs. And there was a passage in that made it feel like you were being unsympathetic or unreasonable to badger Roger Maris for hitting 61 in 162 games versus Babe Ruth's 154. And it was like he had his hair falling out. He was banished from, he was a pariah. He wasn't celebrated. He had become a villain. He was villainized. Then it became how unfair that is. And yes, there is a part of that you feel bad for Roger Maris, that here he is chasing down a record of a guy that played on his team for Yankee fans, and even Yankee fans hold him as a villain because he's breaking a record of Babe Ruth. But the villain became the commissioner who put an asterisk, and it's like, how unfair is that? Maris does the record, and he's got to live with an asterisk. And in history, that becomes unfair that we almost punished Roger Maris for that. But, if you want to just be honest, it took him 8 more games to hit 1 more home run. And I think it's okay to feel like, it is an asterisk. Like, it took you 1 more game. You didn't play 1 more game because the other guy had been hurt so that you get benefited from that you stayed healthy. You had 1 more game on the schedule. And for a record that involves half sacks, 1 full game and 60 defensive snaps is a significant number of snaps to get the record. So it's not to belittle the accomplishments of guys that took more games to do it, but it is to recognize it's not the same. And the NFL is never going to put an asterisk on that. And if, just like Saquon Barkley could have broken the 2105 of Eric Dickerson, there was not going to be an asterisk on that. It would have been different had Saquon gotten a 2106 last year. It would have been different. It's not the same if you have an extra game to do it. Just like it's not the same that Myles got an extra game. It's his record. He had his moment. He's going to be in Canton one day, and he's a phenomenal player and probably deserves votes for an MVP. But it's not a 16-game record like it had been. It's a new record, really. It's a new record with a new amount of games you have to get it. And when this league eventually goes to 18 games, your records like this are going to be broken again, which does water them down a little bit. It does. Let's face it. All right, finally, who did it best? Okay. When we're looking here at how the divisions were decided, the Carolina Panthers go 8-9, and that's good enough to win the NFC South because they win the 3-way tiebreaker with the Buccaneers and the Falcons. I mean, okay. It's so NFC South for it to come down to that. I don't love this. In fact, I hate it. I'm okay with the team winning its division and thus an automatic bid into the playoffs. You want to make conference championships, division championships, an automatic bid into the dance? That's fine. That's fine. But I don't think teams with losing records should be hosting wild card playoff games. I think it's ridiculous. I think it's utterly ridiculous to go 8-9 or 7-10 or 7-8-1 or back in the day 7-9 and have a home playoff game. And the reason that this is because owners want a 1-4 shot before the season for home playoff revenue. It's the way that it goes. Each owner wakes up on Labor Day weekend and says, we've got a 25% chance this year of having a home playoff game. And I like it that way. But I don't think we should like it that way. I don't think the Panthers deserved, nor the Bucs, nor the Falcons, a home playoff game. I don't think just because the luck of the draw, they played in a division where every team is middling versus an NFC West team that had to beat its head against 2 of the Seahawks, Rams, and Niners. I don't think it's right to make teams go on the road. Now, you'll tell me either, hey, if the Niners are good enough, they're going to go on the road and win that game. Or if the Rams are good enough, they're going to go on the road and win that game. And that is true. You're going to tell me, well, wildcard teams have had losing records and won those wildcard games before. So maybe they are deserving, like the Beastquake game, where the 7-9 Seahawks defeated the defending Super Bowl champion St. Louis, at that time, a New Orleans Saints, rather, in the Beastquake game. It's not right. Losing records should not be deserving of hosting playoff games, and that is the end of discussion. Panthers should be in the playoffs. They should not have a home playoff game. And finally, here, my Furious Five, wrapping up today with an observation on who did it best. And we had a number of games today that had a team with something to play for versus a team with nothing to play for. And many of them ended in disgusting fashion. I mean, you had Texans and Colts, and the Colts nearly pulled off the upset. You had Bills and Jets, and that was never a game. The Bears and Lions, Bears needed playoff seeding. They lose the game outright. The Broncos had trouble with the Chargers. You had the Rams at first, kind of a nip and tuck game against the Cardinals, ultimately pulling away. You had the Patriots in a bit of a tight game until the third quarter against the Dolphins. And even the Eagles losing today against the Commanders. To me, the team that actually did it best today, iced the game as soon as basically the game kicked off, they're the Jaguars. I thought the Jaguars made it a party early. Now, the Bills did as well, so I should lump those two together. But I think give the Jaguars credit because the Bills end up in a slot that they didn't really want. Before the season, they didn't want the 6th seed. That is no great shakes for them. And in Jacksonville, what a thrill that you basically just throw a party on the final regular season day and you end up with a 3 seed, and I just thought that's how you demolish an opponent, leave no doubt, kick a 67-yard field goal to end the half, just go into party mode, the offense cooking, the defense shutting out the opponent, and you just get a 3-hour glow up as you're kind of like in the playoffs for the first time in a long time, and now just get to really enjoy it. Patriots also deserve credit. They did not really end up getting much of a threat, but, through the first half or so, still was kind of a game. And I think there were moments in the second quarter where you're like, oh my God, is Quinn Ewers actually going to pull off an upset? The team that did this best today, I thought, was the Jacksonville Jaguars. So big ups to the Jaguars. All right, it is time to talk about that crazy NFC South. It was a day that came down to watching Saints and Falcons. Joining us here on the show is the voice of the Panthers, Anish Shroff. My good friend, voice of the Panthers, season number 4, and also ESPN play-by-play as well, Anish Shroff. Anish, how we doing? Congratulations, you're a division champ.
The Carolina Panthers are NFC South Division champions, headed to the playoffs for the first time since 2017. D.A. It was a wild journey this season, but they got there, and that's all you can ask for. It's been a fun season. It's been a fun ride, and always good to talk to you, my friend.
Sweating out today, Saints and Falcons. I mean, that was not easy until the very bitter end of this game. So how were you watching? What was that experience like? Take me through the ups and downs of that one.
Well, for one, I had to stay sober because I knew I was coming on with you right after. So
bummer, total bummer.
That was a bummer. A couple of drops would have helped getting through that game. But, you leave Tampa. We didn't get in. We had a flight delay, so we didn't get in till late last night, really early this morning, probably after midnight. And then you kind of wake up and in the back of your mind, you kind of think of all the what ifs through the course of the season, right? The play at the end of the Saints game at the Superdome, a couple of mistakes in the Seattle game, the first Saints game, the Arizona game, and the Tampa game that just happened. And, it's all the plays, right? The ifs and buts, and if this happened, okay. Now you're at the mercy of two teams who have nothing to play for except your fate. And the way the game kind of played along, there were times where it felt like Atlanta had a chance to put it away. They let New Orleans hang around. And then when D. Alford had the pick, I think we were all elated. I mean, we're a Panther household. My wife's got the Panther hat on. My daughter grew up a Panthers fan. She's 8 years old. And so we're going nuts. D. Alford gets the pick. They kick the field goal. Okay, you're up 2 scores. And then next thing you know, New Orleans scores. And now there's the onside kick. I'm going, all right, I guess this is how it's supposed to be because it's the NFC South. There's going to be some part of this game where it's going to be stressful, even when it shouldn't be stressful. But they recover the onside kick, and my text messages have been blowing up. It'll be the first NFL playoff game I get to call this weekend. It'll be a home game The home crowd was rocking the last 2 home games of the season. These people are starved for playoff football. I think everybody's excited. And listen, you can point to the record and how you got there and the division and the lack of strength in the division. Once you're there, you get to be the old lady at the blackjack table, right? You want to hit on 17, go hit on 17. I think this team can play a little fast and loose, and you're playing with house money now.
Beyond the record, Dave Canales, Bryce Young, and this team have orchestrated a complete and utter turnaround. I mean, this arguably was one of the toughest jobs of the NFL when Canales took it over. It was a revolving door to head coach. People didn't know if Bryce Young was ever going to be a franchise QB, and now they're in the playoffs. So what was the secret sauce? You've been there for every snap of the last 4 years.
I think one thing that often gets overlooked in all this, it's a better roster than it was 2 years ago when they went 2-15, and even when Canales first took over at the start of last season. But when Dave Canales first took over, the one thing from his personality that continued to show up was just this, it's been called as toxic positivity. I think Baker Mayfield used that term, where it's just optimism, overly positive. And the question that I was asked by a lot of fans in the beginning, and I still get asked to this day, is that who he really is? And I tell them the same thing. That's the only version I've seen. And, you know, we work in a profession where you're in it long enough, you become a cynic and you become jaded, right? And we live in a culture where social media and binary absolutes are so prevalent, where everybody's trying to find the negative, everybody's trying to find offense in something. And this guy was positive and had this energy. And, you know, it wasn't like he wasn't like he was working to make the team better, but he believed the team would get better if they followed that blueprint and that process. And everyone's kind of like, wait a minute, like you're walking into a situation, you were 2-15, the team that you took over. This team hasn't won in a long time. And this guy's rah positivity. But I think that over time, over the course of 2 years, that had something to do with it. There's been a vibe shift. There's been a vibe change. And now you're starting to feel that with the fan base, where you're not necessarily waiting for the other shoe to drop. The hope, the belief, all that is back. And I'm not saying this team is there yet. They still went 8-9, but however this season would have ended, progress would have been made. And I think the playoffs now kind of becomes a cherry on top.
Well, inevitably, we're going to get 2 former Panthers, the current Panthers quarterbacks in the NFC Championship game. It's going to be Panthers and Sam Darnold and the Seahawks, right, from Seattle for all the marbles in the Super Bowl appearance for the NFC. And seriously, when it comes to Sam Darnold, I mean, this reclamation begins with a couple of good starts in Carolina. He's got to kind of bounce around until he finds his home now in Seattle, but this has been outrageous. From your vantage point, what do you think has been the best reason, the most effective reason that the Seattle Seahawks are the 1 seed and have home field advantage in the NFC?
Well, one, I think it starts with their defense. There's really not a soft spot in their defense. They can rush 4. They've got really good corners. They're strong at every position on defense. They haven't really been able to run the ball all that well, although better of late. And then I think the receivers are so tough to match up with. You got Jackson Smith and Jigba, who might be the best receiver in the NFL. Cooper Kupp isn't the player he was 3-4 years ago. He's still a good veteran possession guy. You add a guy like Shaheed who can take the top off of defense. Now it becomes harder to defend. But Sam Darnold, when he was in Carolina, people forget he started 3-0 his first year in Carolina, and then kind of went underreported. He battled an injury that season, wasn't quite himself. The team faded down the stretch. Next year, Baker Mayfield comes in. Baker wins the job. Sam Darnold actually in that 22 season for Carolina in week 17 had a 10-point lead in the fourth quarter against Tampa Bay and Tom Brady with the division on the line. And had the Panthers hung on, all they had to do was beat a bad New Orleans team in week 18, which they ended up doing, and they would have been in the playoffs. And that was with Sam Darnold. And then he goes to San Francisco, and what I've heard is Brian Griese just reshaped him, the quarterback's coach in San Francisco. And that was kind of like QB school 3.0, 4.0. And he evolved, and then he goes to Minnesota, has the great season, and now in Seattle, you know, he was always a guy that his teammates in the locker room respected. He was always tough, kind of had a quiet dog. But, you know, D.A., we've seen all these dead cat bounces with quarterbacks. Sometimes you got to give it time. He was a young QB when he came into the league, came into dysfunction with the Jets. It wasn't perfect with Carolina, and it took some time. Not a lot of teams have patience with young QBs these days.
Absolutely right. And he finally found a home, and it's amazing what that can do when you have the support system around you. In Green Bay, the Packers end up as the 7 seed in the NFC and end the season with a losing streak and getting shut out. And I know that they benched a lot of starters, but still, what a terrible way to go into the postseason. What do you make of Green Bay limping into the playoffs?
Yeah, it's surprising because we saw them early in the season when the Panthers went up to Green Bay. The Panthers won that game, but at the time, Green Bay was the top team in the NFC. Jordan Love looked to be on this, unbelievable trajectory, and they've had some injuries. Love's been hurt; he didn't play today. More precautionary, but their running game has had its inconsistencies this year. They've had some injuries to the wide receiving core. And then I think you can't understate, the Micah Parsons injury, right? Like, that's a game wrecker. You traded for him to get a guy who can impact the game in a way that few players can. He goes down, there's going to be a domino effect. And I think the Micah Parsons injury has had a significant impact on their pass rush and their defense.
When it comes to turnarounds, Canales has authored a great one. Liam Cohen has authored a ridiculous one. Mike Vrabel has been at the helm of a remarkable one. The list goes on. And Ben Johnson in Chicago, the same thing. Do you think that these guys and their immediate success is going to lure or, be now this is the goal or the expectation this hiring cycle where it's like, you know what, we got to get the guy because there's guys out there that will do it automatically, immediately, no patience. And kind of like you're talking about with young quarterbacks, I wonder if the same thing's going to happen with coaches because of these dramatic turnarounds.
Well, I think you got to look at some of the variables, right? Mike Vrabel steps into a situation with Drake May, first-round pick, highly regarded quarterback, strong rookie season, who blossoms in year 2, almost in a way that we last saw probably from Joe Burrow taking that big leap. Trevor Lawrence was the number 1 overall pick at one point, who was in many ways a victim of circumstance, constantly changing head coaches, offensive coordinators. Finally, you get a guy to unlock what he can do. And this guy was a division champion just a few years prior. Who's the other guy that you said? Ben Johnson, right?
Yep.
I mean, again, Caleb Williams, number 1 overall pick. So I think a lot of it has to do with bringing in head coaches who can unlock the potential of these talented quarterbacks. That seems to be the common denominator. If you don't have that quarterback, how effective is the head coach? That's a fair question.
Very fair question. Yep, that is the common thread amongst all those 4 turnarounds. Anish, I know that you held off on drinking during this during the game where you were watching whether the Panthers were going to clinch or not. But I'm here to tell you that I've got reason for you to dip back into the sauce because for joining us here on the show, all of our guests receive a bottle of Santo tequila. Santo is the collaboration between Guy Fieri and Sammy Hagar.
Yes.
This is the best tequila on the market. I can speak from experience.
All right.
And you, my friend, are getting a bottle for the new year 2026 to celebrate that banner NFC South Division winners.
When they win this weekend and when they win the playoff game and send the rest of the NFL and all you guys into a tizzy, I'm going to pop it.
Okay, very good. Very good, my man. Hey, thanks so much for joining us. Another wonderful season calling Panthers games. We end up playing a bunch of your highlights on my show on Mad Dog Sports Radio as we come back on Mondays and play highlights, etc. So it's always great to get your calls on the show and get to hear you, and great to have you here on this program as well.
D.A., always a pleasure, my friend. See you.
All right, very cool to have my friend Anish Shroff join us here on the show. Always good to catch up with him. And the Panthers are dancing into the NFC playoffs by virtue of an 8-9 record. Who could have thought it? Who could have thunk it? Who could have cooked this up? All right, it is time now to get through a few of our beam ups, our salutations, especially around the holidays. All of you guys have sent me such nice messages over the course of the last couple of weeks. I was off last week down in the Florida Keys. If you've been following me on social media, got to go down there to celebrate the Bourbon Belle's birthday and get away for the holiday. We were here for Christmas, and the day after celebrated with my family, then her family, then got out of Dodge for a couple of days, got some sun, got some sand, got some shore, had a few Coronas, and had a lot of seafood. We were there for 4 days, left AJ with the parents, the in-laws, and away we go. That was really cool. So we did not have a show last Sunday. So I collected a lot of holiday cheer to go through tonight that we can celebrate one more time going into the new year. Some good cheer, some good vibes from everybody, okay? So let's get to the beam ups here. And I tell you, I want to start out with some cool stuff that I got from one of our listeners, one of our hardcore D-aliens, and you know him if you listen to the radio show. You've heard him call up the show. You've heard him in studio, in fact, Rob of the 321. And Rob got his daughter, Kaylee, a Rosie the Cat sweatshirt. How about this? A Rosie the Cat hoodie. This is available in the merch store at watchdastore.com. You know, this show is Watch D.A. Live. It's watchdastore.com. And Kaylee looks amazing in it. And on the back, it says, be good and be good to one another. Well, that's the still shot of Kaylee. How about we see the video of Kaylee as well? Ben, why don't we roll the video of Kaylee opening up her gift on Christmas morning?
No.
Oh my God, that's so cute.
Do you know who that is?
It's Nala.
No, who is that?
That's Rosie the cat.
Look at the bag.
I knew it.
Be good and be good to one another. DA's,
I love this.
do you?
Yes, I'm
Put it on.
I'm gonna.
I thought there's something else.
You have some years to grow into it. It's an adult small.
That's a cute sweatshirt.
Yeah.
It's really soft.
I like the saying on it too.
Well, he always signs off of that.
Yeah.
Be good and be good to one another. I'm DA. The mothership disconnects.
This is very comfy.
And it says, watch DA live. Look, oh, it looks so perfect. Come closer.
Oh yeah.
You have to put that in TikTok.
Watch D.A. live, guys.
Perfect. Awesome.
Very cute.
Oh, I love that. That is so cool. Thank you, Rob, for making that happen. And thanks for sending us that video. And Kaylee, hopefully you enjoy that and wear it in good health and good spirits and good cheer. That is so, so cool. You too can have a Rosie the Cat Be Good and Be Good to One Another sweatshirt, a hoodie. It comes in t-shirts. It comes in hoodies. It comes in men. It comes in women's. It comes in kids. It comes in multiple colors. It's pretty darn cool. Again, this show is called Watch D.A. Live. The website is Watch D.A. Store. It is part of the Last Dive Bar's incredible array of apparel, and it's available there. So, you know what? Still looking for a late Christmas gift. Somebody returns something. You want to get something else. There you go. Pretty cool. You can visit the merch store simply by hitting up that QRC code. Also, the website, watchdastore.com. And love seeing Kaylee rock it. She looked great in it. Absolutely great. All right. Speaking of good cheer, is there a guy that brings more life to the show in the mornings over the years than Mac and Bear, Delaware? And how about this? Mac and Bear rock it out as Santa Claus. How about Mac making it happen? Santa Mac. It's Return of the Mac. How good does he look? I love this picture. Mac and Bear getting it done. Coolest Santa there is. This dude has the biggest heart ever. He's been a D-alien for so many years. He made the switch with me when I moved over to Sirius XM, and Mac called the CBS Sports Show for years, now calls the Sirius XM show. He's part of the crew. You know, there's no doubt he is inner sanctum type quality dude. So I love seeing this. Mac and Bear, Delaware, is rocking the Santa Claus outfit. Speaking of legendary D-aliens, how about Dixieland Dan and his Christmas setup? I love Dan because he's true to who he is. In Oxford, Mississippi, Dano has the wreath. He's got the antlers on the wall. He's got the glow up, the blow up, the light up, Santa Claus and Frosty. He's got the Grinch. And he's got an ice cold Busch Light. What could be better, huh? What could be better? You got to love it. Dixieland Dan, this guy knows how to get down, right? Got to love it. And finally, I wanted to read to you a poem. I thought this was amazing. Jake Hudson sent me this poem, and he just wanted to send it to me for Christmas wishes. And so I want to read it to you. Thought this was amazing. Ode to D.A., the voice of Morning Drive. From Warwick's valleys, where dreams took flight, a young voice rose in the dead of night. Syracuse Orange, WAER's call, broadcasting games, he answered it all. Fort Myers Sands, then Kansas City's roar, Miami evenings, Boston Sports Hub shore. Play-by-play echoes from minors and pros, sideline reporter where the revolution goes. CBS called the launch of 13, overnights first, but he wouldn't stay hidden. Evenings, middays, then morning drive throne. The DA show grew, no longer alone. With candor and camp, absurdity streak, insightful takes from the boldest would seek. D-aliens loyal, callers untold, humor and heart in stories retold. Top rankings climbed, simulcast bold, interviews rare where truths unfold. NFL Films voice network screen from MLB to SNY he's often seen. Nomad adventures, self-shot and free. Wanderlust captured for all to see. Watch D.A. live Sunday ignite. Visual fire in the digital night. Sirius XM beckoned Mad Dog's domain with Babchick beside the morning's rain. Channel 82 from 6 to 9. Sports Talk Alive, sharp and divine. Team DA gives rooms to dream too. Helping the children, dreams coming true. Hudson Valley home with wife, son, and cat. Rosie purring soft where the family chats. Damon Amendolara, the nomad, the host, rising through slots from coast to coast. A vivacious spirit, tech savvy and true, the DA endures. Here's to you. Now, I don't know if that was a Chat GPT aided poem, but I'm taking it. I love it. Great job. I was like, damn. And this was just emailed to me. And I said, this is so cool. I am definitely reading this on the show. So I got it over the winter break, and I said, I'm reading this when we come back on the air after the new year. So thank you, Jake. Very cool. All of that is all from my bio. All of that is all of my life. All of that is all my career. And that was very special to get that. I thought that was super, super cool. So happy New Year, everybody. And hopefully you guys have had a wonderful holiday season and enjoying some last regular season weeks of football and the college football playoff and heading into the NFL postseason. With that, I want to bring in Ben Spector Gadget. Ben always gives us something he learned, okay? Something that's there to think about, one to chew on. This is what we do every week. What did you learn this week here, Ben?
You know, I never fully appreciated Dave Canales' work until today. I don't think I fully appreciated him as a coach until I heard Anish talk about him. When you turn a franchise around like that, a lot goes into it rather than just scheme. You don't really think about leadership style. I feel like unless you're a diehard fan of that specific team, you don't really pay attention to what's being said in the press conferences or the all access videos or what's going on every day during the week. But I think I learned a lot about what Dave Canales brings as a leader with his continuous positivity through what Anish was saying throughout the interview during the show.
No doubt. And Anish was there during the bad old days and now is there for the turnaround. So he would know better than anybody else. You're right. I like that toxic positivity. Yeah, I like that. Toxic positivity, relentless optimism. I'm here for it.
Very ironic to have those two words next to each other.
Right? Absolutely right. Yep. So what do we got here? Your favorite comments for the night?
All right. We talked about it right before we got on the air, but I have to bring it up again. The life of a New York Jets fan is the equivalent of Lucy pulling the football away from Charlie Brown. Did not have a single interception this year. The first team to ever do that. I've said it. I'm a diehard Giants fan, and for us, it's at least we're not the Jets. And while the Giants
Yeah, right.
have blown the number one pick, truly, I can continue to say at least we're not the Jets.
Also, Aaron Glenn was supposed to bring defensive tenacity. If anything, even if they were overwhelmed talent-wise, they were supposed to get after you on defense, make life hard on you, and he was a corner. I mean, how cruelly ironic is it that a former Jets corner takes over and he becomes the only coach in NFL history to oversee a club that had no interceptions? A guy that made his living on interceptions in his first year has a team that had none. I mean, just cruel. How much could a Jets fan take?
And he's coming back, reportedly.
He's coming back. He
So,
should come back too.
yeah, I think coaches deserve more than a year. And
Absolutely
if you're a young
right.
first-time head coach, something like
Yep.
that, you deserve more than a year. All right, this
Yep.
is from Matthew. These playoffs are going to be crazy. I don't see any one clear-cut team running away with it. Going to be some good football. I look at both conferences, and the NFC has some real juggernauts, and I think you can make the case for a lot of teams in the NFC. Same goes for the AFC. I don't see a team like the Eagles last year. The Eagles felt inevitable. And the Chiefs sort of felt like they're just going to make the Super Bowl. And once they make the Super Bowl, who knows what can happen. I know that there was the Bills there last year as well, and they always played each other in the playoffs. But this year in particular, I really feel like you can make the case for a lot of teams. And that's why I think these playoffs are probably going to be the most interesting that we've seen in a while.
I agree. I think without the Kansas City Chiefs, it feels completely wide open. I think there's probably only two teams I do not envision out of the AFC could make the Super Bowl. I don't think the Chargers can get there. I don't think the winner of the AFC North can get there. Those are the only two teams that I think out of the 17 field I cannot envision in the Super Bowl. In the NFC, I don't think Carolina has a real chance. I don't think the Packers have a real chance. I think you could make the case for any of the others. So you're talking about 10 out of the 12 teams, or what? That's 12 out of the 14 teams, basically.
Yeah.
Something thereabouts that can't make it. Let's see. 10 out of the 14 teams, I think you can make a legitimate case, can make a Super Bowl. So, yeah, I agree. It feels more wide open. Now, we'll see how it feels after Wild Card Weekend. If we do end up having 5 out of 6 blowouts or something like that, and home teams dominate or something like that, maybe we'll all feel a little bit stupid. Like, is there the possibility where, again, 5 out of the 6 home teams just completely destroy the opponent? Yeah, I mean, maybe. But I do think that it feels like there's 10 legitimate Super Bowl contenders out there, and that should make this pretty fun.
I agree. I was looking at the playoff picture before today, and I was thinking I can make the case for Houston, Buffalo, Jacksonville in the AFC, Denver, even New England. There's some. I mean, that's probably
Absolutely.
not the strongest case I can make, but I can make it. And then in the NFC, San Francisco, Philly, Chicago, Seattle, all these teams I feel like have a shot to do some damage in the playoffs if the ball bounces their way.
Yeah, which hopefully makes the divisional round weekend pretty awesome, because then we could potentially have just 4 absolutely phenomenal games divisional round weekend.
Yes, I hope so. Last one here for you it's not sports related. Larry David says the window on saying Happy New Year's to someone is 3 days, January 3rd. So we've already moved past January 3rd. Do you agree with Larry David, or do you think it should be longer than that?
Yeah, by and large, I found myself today. Who did I say Happy New Year to? I had to go out today. I forget where I went, but I said Happy New Year, and I thought this is probably the break. Now, it's tough because nobody's gotten back to work yet.
Right.
I did the show on Friday for Mad Dog, but the office was closed basically. So we did the show from home, and we won't. Now on Monday, tomorrow, if you said Happy New Year to the workers, the coworkers, peers, etc., that you hadn't seen, maybe even if you're going back to school or something, I don't think it's terrible. I don't, but I did think today for the first time, it's kind of late to say Happy New Year. I did think that today.
Monday, tomorrow, I think is the last day you could say it. But I think if you said it today, I agree. If you said it today, it does feel weird. but the fact that Monday hasn't hit yet and it was on a Thursday, it's not our fault. I think Larry can make an exception for us this year.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Very good. All right. Excellent. Ben, let me go through a few comments myself here on the show. As Moist says, great to have you back on the air. It's like the first sip of super hot coffee on a cold morning. It's great to be back on the air. It was really nice to detach and relax, but I came back thinking, man, I really want to be back on the air. So I did Friday morning on Mad Dog, then Sunday morning on NFL Radio, then this show, and then back at it tomorrow morning on Mad Dog. And I thought, yeah, it feels right. It feels right. Let's see. What else do we have? Nobody had the Panthers winning the division at the beginning of the year. I mean, seriously, just absolutely incredible and crazy that we're talking about a Panthers team that, had they won 6 games and Bryce Young didn't look like a disaster, you would say that was a win. I think if they went 7-10, that's just a win. Even if they lost the division by 3 games, the fact that they won the division will get a playoff game, outrageous. Nicholas says, appreciate the Jags love. I'm really impressed with them. I'm really, really impressed. And I said this when they beat the Denver Broncos. That game woke me up. I had dismissed them largely in a mediocre division, and I thought, what are they really doing here? And 2 things happened. Trevor Lawrence really rose up the last month of the season. They got really good balanced play, and they went to Denver and beat the snot out of the Broncos. I said, this team is legit. For whatever the AFC playoff picture looks like, this team is legit right now. This team is absolutely legit in the Super Bowl, window here. Let's see. Excalibur says, we peeked into Buffalo Sports Radio this morning for the last home game. They had great calls. I could only imagine how emotional it has been up there for the last week. And that's what's kind of crazy, is that this whole season was supposed to be a year that ended with home playoff games. They got to the AFC Championship game last year. They had 2 home playoff games last year and had won the division 5 straight years. It was supposed to be, at the very minimum, winning the division again this year, so that today was not their last playoff game. And they're not their last game at home. And yet it kind of completely got upended by an excellent Patriots team pretty early. And so they knew they were chasing this the entire year, and that this final home game of the regular season was probably going to be their final game. And there's been some crossing of the fingers, maybe a wild card, upheaval happens. And had they been the 5 seed, maybe you could see it now. They're the 6. It's really hard to imagine, but I suppose it's not impossible, as the 7 seed is the Chargers, but the Chargers are going to win games. I think the Patriots are going to take out the Chargers pretty quickly. Had the Texans been the 7, I think you can make the argument. I think if the Texans were below you, you could hope that could happen. But considering the Texans are above you, I do not see the Chargers beneath you winning games of the playoffs. And Brian says, when I start seeing people for the first time in a new year, I'll say, how is your new year going so far? Just to see if it's actually a happy one or not. So that's a good litmus test then, in case you feel like you've missed the window on on whether your happy new year can be accepted or not at this point in 2026. And let's see. Meet in the 574. How do you feel about Riley Leonard competing for the QB1 in Indy next year? I think I think you have to allow him to compete, but it's not his job. Thought he looked pretty good today. And I think there's a lot to like with Riley, but you got to bring in a veteran. I think you cannot do the J.J. McCarthy thing where it's like, he's our guy, you hand him the keys without any backup. I think you have to have a veteran guy so that he has to compete for the job. But, for Riley Leonard and Daniel Jones to kind of go at it, I think you have a combination there where you would feel okay going with either one, depending on who won the job. But I think it should be an open competition, because you are still trying to find your guy. And I don't think Daniel Jones has to be with a rubber stamp automatically the guy where we stand in January of 2026, you know? So that's that with the comments. And before we get out of here, why don't we do a little, before we get to the Little Mo laugh of the day, let's just play for you how the Sports Illustrated was won. The autographed Mark Clayton Sports Illustrated from 1984 we gave away, okay? And this was from the last members-only chat. Ben, why don't we play the spin the wheel-orama here? So we got 35 names in the hopper. Are we ready to do this? Let us do this for December 2025, shall we? Here we go. And the spinny thing randomizer is off. Amazing. Where will it stop? Nobody knows. I feel a little bit like Bob Barker here as it spins, it spins, it spins. An amazing amount of spinning it's doing. It's very, very dramatic. If I had the sound on, you would hear a click, 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 really like The Price is Right. But I don't have that on because it's going to echo. And so, got by B squared. What do we have here? Where's it going to land? Oh, that's on Matt 4. No, way more blues. No, B.H. Doyle. Looks like it to be B.H. Doyle. Is it B.H. Doyle? Is it going to get to Savvy Bain? Savvy Bain. Wow. What a dramatic win by Savvy Bain to earn themselves the Sports Illustrated from 1984. Wow. Savvy Bain with a dramatic win. Oof. Wow. That's how it's done. How great is this? Every month we're giving something away. So make sure you remain a subscriber to the channel because every month more cool stuff like this is what we are giving away. I mean, that's just amazing, is it not? It is amazing. And so very cool that Savvy Bain won it, but Savvy Bain has not reached out to me with their address. So Savvy, if you're out there, you got to let me know how I can get a hold of you. You can do it in the comment section. You can do it in any way of social media DMs. You can email me as well. There's many different ways to get a hold of me. I highly encourage you to become part of the Touchdown Club. And, you know, it's a pretty easy, cool thing to do. You just got to sign up. And then bada bing, bada boom, you are in the drawing for our monthly giveaways. And so it's an amazing place to be with great people and great prizes. But if you're going to collect, you got to collect. We got to see you. And so hit me up when you get a chance. You can email me as well. My email address, this is for anybody out there, damon.amendolara@SiriusXM.com. Or we have a Gmail account as well, which is theDAShow912@gmail. It was established when we were on 9 to noon at CBS Sports Radio, so it's 912, theDAShow912@gmail. I check it all the time. I check it personally. So hit me up either way, but I got to know where to send this beautiful football relic. Come on. All right. And by the way, if you want to be part of this, just go to the memberships here on this channel. Click on that link above me where it says members. And for the low price of $3.99 a month, you are a member where you get members only live chats every month. You are in the running for great, cool football gear like this. And there's exclusive content up there, exclusive videos only for members. All right. And that's it. And Delta 9 Brian, backwards Brian, stupid question, but is the Touchdown Club the new name for the Jedi Council? Absolutely correct. You are following the branding path. That's the way it's going to go. It's a Touchdown Club because I'm giving away great, cool stuff, football-wise, that's retro. So it's a Touchdown Club now. But yes, Jedi Council, there it's all the same thing. All right, before we get out of here, let us get to your laugh of the day. All right, Ben, play this for us because we all need a good smile in 2026. There we go. Check this out. This is Baker Mayfield, who is watching Saints and Falcons today because, of course, his playoff livelihood relies on it. And if the Saints win, the Bucs are going to the playoffs. With the Falcons win, they're sitting at home. And his wife, of all people, posting pictures of him miserable watching the game in anxiety land. This is his wife posting, watching Baker watch football as a, quote, fan is hilarious. Haven't seen him this stressed in a minute. I mean, that is some friendly fire. His wife posting pictures of him living and dying with Saints Falcons. Is there a lower lot in life than that? That your season comes down to hoping Saints Falcons goes your way? A miserable, miserable experience. And his wife is there, catching it all on camera for us to laugh at. Very nice. Good find, Ben. Good find. It's a great laugh of the day, courtesy of Little Mo. All right, that's going to do it for us tonight here on the show. Thanks, everybody. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Click on this button below me. That way, if you're on YouTube, you get alerts when we go live. All right? And you are in the running for this amazing Santo Tequila giveaway with the fire pit and the cozy, comfy chairs for the backyard. So make sure you're subscribed to the YouTube channel. If you are watching on Twitter/X or Instagram, make sure you get over to the YouTube channel. Same handle, at Damon Amendo, and just make sure you hit subscribe. Also, I'm on TikTok as well. Find the same handle, at Damon Amendo, for videos and pictures and all the like that's happening on TikTok as well. Find me there. All right. That's going to do it for us tonight here on the show. For executive producer Ben Spector, I'm DA, Damon Amendolara. Be good to one another. I'm DA, and I'll see you tomorrow morning on Mad Dog Sports Radio. The Mothership. Disconnect.